Logistic floors are the beating heart of organizing a neat and tidy factory, and when they're done right, they can look amazing. Despite giving them up for my chaotic starter factory, I've fully utilized them for other projects around my 1.0 playthrough. My name's the Valhalla Pickle, and today we'll be asking the question, are logistic floors worth it in Satisfactory 1.0? First of all, what's even the difference between a logistic floor and a non-logistics floor? Well, let's have a very quick look. This is a regular floor assembly setup. We've got 2 inputs, and of course we've got our 1 output. And this is pretty much how it would look like if you were to do this in your own factory. Of course, there are ways that you can elevate the conveyor belt so that they don't overlap like this, but for the most part, this is most likely what your factory will end up looking like when you've got a bunch of assemblers joined together. Additionally, your power cables are also exposed and visible as well. Some players love this, other players though do not. So what if you were to try and hide all of these excess conveyor belts and power poles? Well, luckily that is nice and simple to do with a logistics floor. Instantly you can notice things here look a lot neater, which is fantastic, and when we come underneath here, we've still got the exact same logistics like what we had over there. Something else I would like to point out is look at all the extra room you have in here, which is perfect for adding in your power cables. Now if we were to come back up here, you can see there is no power poles in sight, because all of our power is being handled from our logistic floor, which is another fantastic benefit of having them. So now that we know what our logistic floors can do, let's see them in action. Here's a quick glimpse of my factory that's currently a work in progress. As you can see, we've got quite a lot of logistic work going on in between these refineries. But let's say I don't want to necessarily show this. Well, all I've got to do now is just drag out my foundations, and before you know it, all of my logistics still remains the same, but it's no longer visible, hiding all of that absolute chaos. And now you just see the refineries, which some people would absolutely enjoy. Having said that, there are tons of people out there, myself included, that absolutely love to see your conveyor belts in action. So this would be my very first reason against building a logistics floor. You hide all of your logistics. Obviously, that's the whole point. So if you enjoy seeing everything moving, then of course a logistic floor won't be the most ideal thing for you. There are workarounds to this, as I'll show you in just a minute, but overall a logistic floor is meant to hide all that chaos. Sometimes that chaos is a little bit fun. Not to mention, you might want to overview the work you've just done, and if you were to hide all your conveyor belts or your pipes even, it then hides all the work you've just finished. So having all of your conveyor belt open and seeing everything flowing from one machine into another can be a very satisfying feeling. So just to reiterate, a reason why you might not want to have a logistic floor is because it hides the work you've done, and it leads to less chaotic factories, which some people do love a little bit of chaos. Now let's talk about some more reasons why a logistic floor might be perfect for you. For this example, we'll be heading over to our coal power plant. This is a good example of what can happen when you do your logistics properly. Point number 1, it keeps your factory looking presentable. As we can see, we haven't got too many pipes or conveyor belts sticking out here, yet everything is still green and everything is still working, as we can see by the smoke coming out the chimneys. And the factory itself doesn't look too messy, it doesn't look overcrowded, and it doesn't look dreadful, if I say so myself, tooting my own horn there a little bit, but everything is nice and neat. Until you actually get to the logistic floor, where suddenly you go from oh wow to oh wow. This doesn't look very nice, and bear in mind it goes on for at least 100 foundations of replicating everything that we see going on here. With all these pipeline pumps, you got all these pipes here as well, the conveyor belts that go on for ages. I mean, it is just absolute chaos. However, it is needed, and obviously if I want to make my factory look nice, I don't want all of this to be visible. Hence why I added a logistic floor here, because it makes everything inside of here look chaotic. However, the logistics is still perfect for what I need. However, just up from where we were, you can see everything still looks relatively normal. It looks like our pipes just go straight into our core generators, which luckily they essentially do. And regarding our conveyor belts, they just come in from this entrance here, and you essentially never see them ever again. It just does what it has to do, which logistically again is perfect. And this is just an example of what can happen when you use a logistics floor in a project. Another reason as to why you might enjoy using a logistics floor is to hide spaghetti. Like, this looks dreadful, this is absolutely awful. And if you don't want this to be shown in your factory, then again, a logistics floor can hide your crimes. It is fantastic. Just very quickly, if you enjoy videos like this and you want more guides, tips and tricks then feel free to subscribe if you wish. You don't have to, but it's a good way to support the channel. You'll also get notified whenever I drop one of these videos. Thank you for all the continued support on the channel, but without further ado, let's get straight back into the video. One of the best examples I have of hiding my crimes using a logistics floor is in my crude oil unpackaging facility. When you actually walk into this place, it looks relatively neat. The floor is nice and shiny, you got reflective glass here on the floor as well, which is great. But when it comes to pipe works, most of it is neat. I mean, some of it looks a bit chaotic, but it is what it is and it has to be done. Until you drop underneath here to our logistic floor, and it's like entering hell itself. I mean, this is extremely chaotic, but again, the logistic work is exactly what I need for it to do. Unfortunately though, as I previously mentioned, it does look extremely chaotic, but there's not really too much I can do about that other than hiding it underneath a logistics floor. And as you can see, this goes on for quite a long way with tons of conveyor belts and pipes running underneath our factory above. And if it wasn't for the glass flooring, you would have never have known it was that chaotic down there, because as we just saw previously, it is rather chaotic underneath here. However, when you add this glass floor into certain locations, it actually really adds to the overall build. You can see that the build has got life to it, whereas if it wasn't for this glass floor, everything here just looks a little bit dead. You can see the packaged crude oil going into the unpackages, or the packages in theory, but that's about it. Nothing else is really moving. Until you look underneath your factory, then suddenly it all comes to life. But it goes without saying that a logistics floor can make a bad build look pretty decent. The final major point that I'll mention is that adding a logistics floor is actually rather time-saving, because all you have to do is just hook up your pipes to a floor underneath your factory, let it all flow normally, and then before you know it, everything's kind of okay. Like, nothing has to overlap. You don't have to spend about 100 hours thinking, oh, where do I put that pipe and that conveyor belt. Everything has a place, and there's a place for everything. So at first, when you are designing your blueprints or your logistic floors, it might not seem like you're saving a lot of time, but honestly, you are, because it makes things a lot less chaotic. It's like building a Lego set, but when you get your bag of Lego, you lay everything out nice and neatly, and then you start building what you were planning to build in the first place, rather than dumping all of your Lego into one pile, then scavenging for the bits and pieces later on. It definitely does make things a bit easier, even if it may not seem like it at first. Why did it have to lag there? I was halfway through a monologue. I suppose what I'm trying to say is logistic floors are pretty good for the majority of people, and it can hide a lot of your bad conveyor belt nightmares. However, if you like having open conveyor belts and open pipes, you might not want to have a logistics floor. A compromise though is to add in that glass floor, or technically glass ceiling, that we were talking about a little bit earlier on, which I personally really enjoy. But what do you feel? Do you guys enjoy logistics floors? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you very much for watching. Before we go, a massive thank you to the channel members: Chaos Rising, Scotland Hattie, Mau Mau, Natormal, Yamikel Burns, Variants, Asuna, Nicole Still Plays, and Zhao. If you decide to become a Knight of the Realm for just £2.99 a month, you get access to channel-only emotes, unique badges, and also shoutouts in videos. Memberships are the best way to support my channel, but you don't have to become a member. Even just by watching today's video, you are supporting the channel massively. Here's a couple more videos I've made that you might be interested in. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Have an amazing rest of your day, and remember, Godspeed.